Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time you are watching this. Welcome back to another episode of the Since I Was Young podcast, all things Heart of Midlothian. Joining you as always is myself, Ewan and Alan. Alan, how you doing? Good, sir? You all good?
Yeah, mate, I'm good. I'm good. A few technical difficulties beforehand, but we're all set up and good to go.
All good to go, man.
Aye, all good. How are you doing? You well?
Not too bad, mate. Like I said, from last week, I looked like a piece of shite on the fucking road, but I'm slowly getting there, man. We're all good, and hopefully I'll be a wee bit more upbeat than last week. But as soon as we start talking about the game, I'll probably be right back down again. But it's all good on that one. That is going to be obviously our main topic for this episode. It'll be to dissect and analyse the game that was on Saturday in Dingwall, Ross County versus Hearts, which ended in a 2-2 draw, frustratingly, but hey ho, we move on. And as always as well, we will have Alan's news segment as well. We've got a few things to touch on, including with the Kingsley's future at Hearts. Got some injury updates as well on Michael Smith and Gino. We've got a small bit of info about the game on Saturday as well, concerning the COVID the passports as well. And we have also got a tiny bit of news as well that just came out recently as well. I think it was today, if I'm right in saying, Alan, that Hearts was appealing for the yellow card they're given to Ben Woodburn also at the weekend, so we'll catch you up on that as well. But before we dive in to the news, as always, guys, if you are a fan of the Since I Was Young, the podcast for all things Hearts of Midlothian, please think about subscribing and smash that like button as well. Every like, every view, and every subscription is always appreciated, guys. So all the links to the socials as well are all on screen and in the description. All of Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, all at SIWY Pod. Our email as well is also on screen and in the links as well, since I was young 1874 at gmail.com. And if you want to get in touch with either myself or Alan, you can. Alan's Twitter is in the description, as well as my YouTube channel, What Ewan's Doing. Like we said beforehand, we're going to start off with Alan's news segment. So Alan, as I said at the start, Stephen Kingsley's future at Hearts.
Yeah, definitely. There was an article that was put out. Can't remember if it was last week or early this week, but it was basically Stephen Kingsley talking about his time at Hearts so far, and he was enjoying himself. And I think he's, with this new system being deployed as a left centre back, he seems to be kicking on with that. And it's taken him some time to get used to it, but he seems to be doing all right. Says he's settled in Edinburgh and he's enjoying his football, so keen to extend his contract, which I think runs out at the end of the season. I think he was in that list of, I think he was in that list of players whose contracts are up at the end of the year. So it's nice to hear, that he's keen to extend. I think Stephen Kingsley's done fantastically well this season when he's been involved. As I say, playing in that central defensive position that he's not used to, but he's getting used to and doing very well. So I'm pleased to hear that he's happy, and it's just nice to have a player that's settled and comfortable.
Absolutely, man. Because like going back to a few weeks ago when we did the podcast with the Perfect Two, the Paisley Boys. Would you agree with Adam with his the comments saying that? Do you think he is rated as much as we say he is, or?
I think so. I think people don't really get it's a difficult one, because I'm kind of the same about Alex Cochrane, in the sense that I don't think they're fantastic, but it's because they're in positions that aren't really appreciated as positions on a football pitch, and I think Stephen Kingsley is just dependable, and does a fantastic job when you ask him to. He's 27 now, so he's got a bit of experience, a bit of maturity, which is good, and it's a bit of a leader on the park. But I think he is. Adam refers to him as one of our most underappreciated players at Hearts, and I think there's a lot of truth to that.
Oh, good, man. Well, it is nice to hear that we're trying to get the contracts sorted out sooner rather than later. But of course, we will keep you updated on that if there's any developments throughout any future podcasts as well. And speaking of Mr. Dependable as well, we've got some injury updates as well for Michael Smith and Josh Gianelli as well, both who missed out on the game at the weekend there. So, Alan, what have you got on that one, buddy?
Yeah, Michael Smith in the international break had a little knock, then came back and played on it. But yeah, it was. I think he aggravated it in the derby, and that's obviously made him miss the Ross County game. Gino apparently got injured in a behind closed doors bounce game. Again, I think it was a muscular thing, or I can't remember off the top of my head what it was, but it ruled him out of the county game. But they'll both be back for the weekend against Livingston, so that's good. Ben Woodburn also, Robbie made a comment about him not being 100%, and that he basically said, he's not played a lot of football, which is true. But he did have a full pre-season at Liverpool, so he's going to be fit, but maybe match fit is a slightly different thing. But yeah, so that forced him off again against County, and yeah, but they're hopefully all going to be available for Livingston. So it'll be interesting to see what he does with the team selection for the Livingston game. But I'm sure we'll talk about that a bit later on when we're doing our predictions for that game, which have gone swimmingly so far, by the way.
Oh, absolutely on track. No complaints at all about that, man. But like I said, we will not mention that right now. So on to a tiny was it the preview for not this week's but next week's game as well. Also at home to Motherwell. Obviously there's been a lot of talk for not just with football games, but going to places in general, such as like events like these. Was it COVID? The passports is a thing that's been talked about now. And from what you gave me, it's possibly being introduced to football as well. Do you want to give us the background on that, mate?
Yes, so the COVID passport situation is it was announced by the Scottish Government a couple of weeks ago that events that hold over 10,000 people are going to have COVID passports required for entry. And then it all went a bit quiet, and we've not heard any information, at least not publicly, about how places are supposed to implement it, because it's not a simple process if you're going to ask every single person that's going in to provide something. I mean, just a little bit of background. When we went to the Hibs game, when we went to the derby, we got to the turnstile and the boy couldn't scan my ticket properly. It wasn't working for a couple of times. So, add that, and then add having to check a COVID certificate or whatever you would have. You're going to add extra time for people to get in. So to me, it just doesn't seem all that practical, but that's just me. The club have put out a statement saying to basically the effect that the Motherwell game, which falls on the Saturday the 2nd, so that'll be after the COVID passports are due to come in, because it's the 1st of October that they're due to be starting from. The club have said, due to the fact they don't have yet enough information from the Scottish Government in terms of how to implement the strategy and how to make it practical, that they are not going to sell general sale tickets until they know more information. Now, that makes sense, because, to have uncertainty for fans not knowing what they need to take with them, and if they need to take it with them, or, it would just be a disaster. I feel like it would make getting into the stadium 10 times longer than it already is. So the club have basically taken the decision to not sell general sale tickets until they have more clarity and more information from the Scottish Government that they can then put out to fans and say, look, if you're coming to Tynecastle, this is what we need you to do. But there's been some stories since that article that they're going to do it in like a spot check format. So they're not going to ask everyone. They're just going to spot check, every, I don't know, maybe every 10th or 20th person or whatever, So it's a controversial subject. I put a Twitter poll out on the Since I Was Young Twitter account a few weeks ago, actually, when they were speaking about the COVID passports, saying, COVID passports, what are your thoughts? And it was, I think, fairly unanimous that a large portion of our followers said a complete waste of time, just purely for the practical reasons. I understand the need to check these things, and I understand why it's being asked, but yeah, there needs to be a way to make it a lot easier if they're going to make it mandatory. So,
absolutely, yeah, no, man, absolutely, because I agree, honestly, literally with everything you said. I feel as if something has to be put in, but the way that they're wanting to try and do it, like you said, it's just not what it is the practical at all. Like, to act like, because like as well, like, I mean, I know that there was a talk about a few months ago where you would have the app for your actual, like, sort of the passport on there. Now, like, that's not a huge deal for the likes of you, like in me, but like as well, there's obviously a lot of older, like, sort of fan base as well, where they're not like sort of going to have all these like sort of smartphones and blah blah blah, blah etc.
Exactly.
And and that kind of puts them at a disadvantage as well. So yeah,
exactly. No, I was just going to say, in terms of when you're talking about like older generation of fans, there's going to be a younger generation of fans that haven't even been vaccinated yet.
Yeah, like exactly.
So does that mean they can't get in?
Yeah, like I said, like it's typical government fucking right. They'll say like sort of the one things it's happening, but then the actual ins and outs and details, it just gets brushed over and just like, but as such, we will, like, of course, we'll let to keep you updated, like, through the podcast, as well as the page as well, like, if we have any new info on that one. And before we get into the actual game itself, we have a small bit of info from the game itself, on the very controversial Ben Woodburn yellow card, which he was given during the first half for an apparent dive. We did, or was it the pilot? And Alan, I believe, has the outcome of said appeal.
Yeah, so in a rare turn of events, the SFA, SPFL have admitted that they got that one wrong, and they've overturned it.
Did they have admitted they got something wrong? Fucking blow me away, mate. Jesus.
I know, we should just end it there. Just end it. Just see you later. See you next week. But yeah, so essentially the yellow card was apparently for a dive. I didn't watch the game live at the time. Watched it back on BBC Alba in the evening. I didn't see what the yellow card was given for. I purely saw Ben Woodburn getting a yellow card. Then, having watched it again, this
what do you say?
What do you say? I can say, but thankfully the right outcome has happened and he's had it rescinded, so that is positive.
And just before we move on to the actual game itself, Alan has just quickly reminded me, like, as well, that there was the biggest news of them all the way from Italy. Alan, give us some clarity on that one, mate.
Well, everyone's the golden boy, Aaron Hickey, scored his first goal for Bologna in a 1-1 draw against Genoa. And by the way, what a goal it was.
Raker, son.
Edge of the box, through a few bodies, Raker. Bottom corner, goalkeeper, not a chance. Absolutely. I watched it. It blew up Twitter. It blew up Hearts Twitter on the night that it happened. And I watched it and I felt like a proud dad watching him. I was like, there's our boy doing bits in Italy. But you know what? It's actually really nice because the Genoa,
it is.
The Bologna team, they love him. They absolutely love him, and the fans love him as well. It's great. So it's nice to see. It's nice to see him. His first goal, almost a year to the day that he scored against the Hibs. So
well done. There you go. So well done, young man. Well done. As ever, Alan, thank you so much for the news segment as per, mate. So we move on to the events that happened up in glorious Dingwall, which the game ended in a 2-2 draw with Ross County and Heart of Midlothian. So yeah, well, when we got well, like sort of more specifically, when you sent me the lineup of the actual game, it was a very confusing one. I'm pretty sure you and me spent half an hour trying to work out what shape and what sort of lineup Robbie was going to actually do, because I went with a 4-1-3-2. You went with like a 4-2-4-1, like or having a like along those lines, or
I thought it was going to be a 4-2-3-1
aye.
personally, but the BBC Alba highlights had it as you had it, the 4-1-3-2, but then
Hmm.
Robbie confirmed after the game that it was more of a 4-1-4-1, with Boyce and Woodburn being the tens, in behind
Hmm.
Nanduli.
Mhm.
Yeah, it was interesting, but it was one of those I was actually very happy to see it, to be honest.
Hmm.
It was the fact that he basically, you could tell that Robbie, having missed Michael Smith, obviously brought Taylor Moore in to play right back,
Mhm.
and Gino not being available, he basically went, okay, which attackers do we have that are fit? Let's
Aye.
play all of them. So it was interesting. I was really pleased to see Nandule start, to be honest. I thought he had
Yes,
a overall quite a good game, but
he
we'll go into
did.
that
No, no,
a
no.
bit more
He,
in
he did. Of
detail. But yeah, it,
course.
it was. I remember. I think I sent you the link or something like that, or we both saw the lineup or whatever, and it was
Mhm.
an exchange of messages going, "What is that?" Followed by a sequence of different numbers that add up to 10.
Dude, mental, mental.
Oh dear. Oh yeah. 4-4-2, 4-2-3-1, 4-1-4-1, 4-5-1. But again, it's, do you know what it is? It's a nice problem for us to have.
Literally what I was about to say, man, because like, because when you said at the start, like, we had both Smith and Gino out. Now, if it was this time last year, it would have been an absolute disaster. Like,
Yeah.
but it's nice to see that we have got that like sort of depth now in the squad. So for these sorts of games, and like, if we have to rotate as well, it's nice to see that we've got the the talent there to actually fill those gaps, like etc. So
Mhm.
I mean, while you're on it, the team as such, I didn't like sort of mind that at all. Just to kind of refresh everyone's memory on the actual lineup. So we had the Gordon in the goal, followed by Taylor Moore at right back, in the centre with Halkett and Suter, and on the left, we had Stephen Kingsley. In the centre of one, we had Benny Beningame. Also the midfield four, or the strike force as such. I don't know what it was, but we had Mackay, GMS, Ben Woodburn, and also Nandule and Steve and Liam Boyce. Fucking the names today, mate. I'm fucking ridiculous. Um, so yeah, in that respect, I thought it was actually quite a strong side. I thought it was a very attacking sort of forefront. And to be honest, when I did see the side and when we did kind of manage to figure out what the shape was going to actually be, I genuinely thought there was going to be a lot of the goals, which there actually was, but not for the right end. So yeah, your thoughts, mate? Maybe the opening 20. I'm pretty sure I think it was about 1-1 by that point, because I'm pretty sure we got the early goal after 6 minutes, and then, like, of course, the county equalised literally 1 minute later. But just to talk about that, the build up of the goal, Halkett, I thought actually did quite well. Like, the ball came to him. He kind of like sort of had to push it up to the half head the way line to Ed what was it, Ed to pass it to GMS, who did a nice wee turn, pulled up a wee bit more. Was it picked out? Was it the boys on the left hand side of the box, and just with a one touch hit, strolls it away. What were your thoughts up until that point, mate? you feeling relatively like sort of at the positive, and were you feeling sort of that sort of like the kind of mindset as myself where you thought there's going to be plenty of goals in this game?
Yeah, I would probably echo that. I think even before that happened, we had the Craig Gordon near absolute howler. They passed it out to Ross Callahan.
That's
And
why I didn't mention it, mate. But yeah, please
I was,
do.
do you know, I was having this conversation with someone the other day. We have this amazing ability to make former players that we've let go come back
Score.
and look really good against us. I don't know
Yeah,
what it is. I mean, to be fair, Ross Callahan wasn't the worst player at Hearts at the time he was there.
not
I
at
don't
all.
think he was ever of the caliber to play for us, but he was a decent player. He was a Hearts man, so that made him something. But then he went to Hamilton after us, and now he's at Ross County, and he's doing well for himself, to be fair.
Aye.
But going back to the Craig Gordon situation, he gets the ball back past from Taylor Moore,
It was,
and
yeah.
I don't really know what he's trying to do with it. I don't. I couldn't
Yeah, I kind of
see.
get you.
I couldn't see the pass he was trying to make. It was almost like he thought Ross Callahan still played for
They'll
us. He
play for
just thought,
Hearts.
I'll
I know
pass it to
exactly.
him. But luckily, Ross Callahan sort of had to sort his feet out, and I think he got closed down by a defender. But he still managed to get a shot away. But
Yeah,
obviously, Gordon was back on his line by that point, and thankfully managed to gather it. But yeah, that would have been a really depressing start to the game.
don't even.
But I will say for Ross County in their defence, I thought they actually started the game quite well. I think we had a few little chances here and there, but they obviously being the home side, you'd expect them to kind of start better of the two. By the way, you wouldn't have known they were the home side because the Hearts fans, again, the travelling support, unbelievable
Brilliant.
as ever. I'm sure there were a few sore heads on the Sunday morning, but it was nice to just hear the Hearts fans, the away supporters, singing away for the full game. But no, County started well. I thought they passed it around quite well. They moved it very well. I was impressed by the winger. What's his name? Charles Cook, I think it is, or can't read his name now. I had it written. That's terrible.
I think it is, mate, though. I think
But
you're right.
he looked a nippy little winger, and quite a beefy guy as well. To be fair, he looked like he could put himself about a bit. So he caused us a few problems. But no, I mean the goal was solid for Hearts. I said it to you that I thought when I saw going back briefly to the lineups, when I saw that he'd broken up the Haring and Benny midfield partnership, I thought, not sure about that one.
Hmm.
But obviously, he's done it to accommodate another forward, which I'm in favour of if that's what he's going to do.
Yeah.
It's difficult though because as much as I love Benny and he's had an unbelievable start to his career at Hearts, I think we put a lot on him in that game because we didn't have Haring next to him.
Yeah.
I don't think there was really anyone that was next to Benny until later in the game, but yeah, it put a lot of responsibility on Benny, and he did well. Benny did well. There were a few moments that he got caught out, but you're if you're playing a 4-1-4-1, he is essentially your midfield. So
yeah,
there's a lot of work for him to do. But no, the goal. It was funny because the goal, like we bash Halkett quite a lot, and I thought he was okay against Ross County. I don't think he was fantastic, but I think he was okay. Probably a solid 5 out of 10 in the game, I would suggest. But
yeah, that's fair enough.
the pass, like the goal itself, he's got the ball and he's bringing it forward. And I think had a Peter Haring been in there, the simple pass would have been to give it to Haring, and then Haring would have sprayed it forward. But Halkett, to be fair to him, obviously didn't have anyone closing him down, which made it easier.
Yeah.
But he took the ball forward in a sort of way that John Suter normally would.
Yeah,
and he was driving forward, and he went past Benny, he went beyond Benny into the midfield and picked out Gary Mackay-Steven. And I'm thinking, yeah, that's the right pass. That's what you want. And GMS obviously, nice little skill, nice little footwork to get it away, and lovely pass down the line for Boyce, and Boyce with a very, very good finish, to be fair. But
absolutely,
yeah, it was a well worked goal. I'll say that.
Definitely, man. And just to point that out, like as well, that is the Boyce 8th goal of the season, and makes him. Was it you sent me a stat, which was actually quite nice to see as well. So John Robertson, after his 50th game at Hearts, he scored 32 goals, and the Boyce is the next in line down that list as well. After he played his 50th game against the county, he scored 25 goals. So so again, it is nice to see that we've actually got a striker, like an actual striker that scores. Like,
Yeah,
for once.
no, definitely. I think Boyce had a good game. I think floating around Nanduli helped them out a lot. They linked up very well. They had a nice partnership and a nice balance to them. So yeah, Boyce is dependable. Boyce is dependable. You know, he'll if he's not going to score a penalty, he'll score from open play. Put it that way.
Yeah,
but yeah,
absolutely,
no, it was the sort of shot that I wouldn't have wanted it to fall to anyone else, because I don't think anyone else would have finished it in the way that Boyce did.
Absolutely
So
not.
yeah, no, it was good. But then obviously we did the typical Hearts thing, and 60 seconds later,
literally,
we concede.
Yeah.
What did you think about it?
Oh, mate, I was more angry. Well, again, not angry, but because like you just said there, it was just typical of Hearts to do. What I didn't like about it was a really was it the poor was it the goal to like sort of give away to start off. Obviously, I mean, I can't remember who it was. I don't know if it was White or one of the Peyton, like sort of the boys, but he took up to the edge of the Hearts box. Now, during that sort of phase of the play, you had Benny, Kingsley, and Suter, I think it was, all crowded like around them. And at that moment, I think they were just more concerned about if, like, the possibility of if he were to get like a shot off. And I don't think nobody was actually wanting to actually make that tackle to try and get that, like, that actual was it the ball out. Obviously, I know at like in certain parts it was inside the actual the box as well, but like like they were literally just going backwards and forth, backwards, like what I mean. So nobody was actually trying to actually make challenges as such. And then when it fell to the goal scorer again, I like his name escapes me. I don't know if you have
Spittle.
it on Spittle, yes.
Yeah.
Spittle.
He was another one that played a good game, to be fair.
He did. No, like to be fair to him, like he actually did. And again, like when the shot like sort of came off, like was Gordon had all of those same was it free like the players in his way. So by the time the ball actually is in his sight, it's too late for him. So yeah, I think the defensively, I think it was a bit the poor. And yeah, it was a pretty shoddy goal to give like away on that one.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think it was the long ball forward. I think it was White. I don't remember off the top of my head, but there was a county player that was challenging Taylor Moore in the air, and Taylor Moore doesn't win the header. If Taylor Moore wins that header, the attack's done. And or at least we've got time to set and come back and be ready again. Taylor Moore doesn't win the header, and from that moment, everything just kind of goes a little bit wrong. And to be fair, the big target man White again had a solid game for County. Gave us more problems than he should have, but looks a decent target man, to be fair.
Even after he got knocked clean the fuck out by Halkett, like seriously, like that looked like nothing at all. But like as soon as I saw the blood, I was like, oh yeah, I can't.
And he holds it up, and Spittle is sort of around him, and they do a little bit of kind of passing between themselves. Spittle finds a bit of space, and to be fair, it's a first time shot. Like you said, Gordon. You can't say Gordon should have saved it. By the time he sees it, it's probably already past him. It's too late for him to get to it. I think it's one of those we were set. Like obviously we've just scored. We're back in position. We're back in defence. The defence is set. They're ready to go. And then, like I say, they just switch off slightly, and
But
they don't know when to press. They don't know when to try and get a foot in and take the ball. But the boy White, it was a perfect target man role in a goal. He gets the ball, he holds it up, he gives it to the other forward who just rifles it in. So while I think I was disappointed with our defensive efforts, I don't really. It sounds kind of stupid, but I don't blame our defense. I think County just made the most of it.
I get I mean, it's not to take like away from them because they did sort of the well to actually try and hold up the ball, and as well to actually get the shot off. But if you're Suter or the Kingsley, like you've got to put at least a foot in, like to
Even
even
Benny gets
at
caught
least
out as well.
try.
Yeah, Benny gets caught out as well, which I don't like saying, but Benny did get caught out a little bit. The ball went by him and he just didn't he didn't go for it, which is very strange. But yeah, it was just typical, and it was one of those, like, as I say, I didn't watch the game live, unfortunately. I was working, so I didn't get the chance to watch it. But when I saw the notification that Hearts scored, I was like, "Oh, great! A goal in the first 10 minutes. That's brilliant." We kick on. We kick on from here, and then by the time I left my office at work and got to my car, it was 1-1, and I was like, "All right, okay." But I mean, it's one of those things. It's what we do. We tend to just, when we score first, I don't know whether we panic. I don't know whether we're not quite sure what to do next. But
yeah, I think it is that, man.
Yeah, we just, as I say, if Taylor Moore wins that header, maybe Benny picks it up and we go on an attack of our own. But County, to be fair, made the most of that and they got a goal out of it. So no complaints on that front.
Like, of course, as well, like, was I said at the start, the first half was full of Hearts chances. Just to name a few, because I actually wrote every single one down. So shortly after the County goal, there was a chance from, was it the Barry Mackay? He kind of like sort of flings himself down the right hand side. Initially, I thought his shot was actually going wide, but the County keeper Maynard, I think it was his name. Like, he doesn't know that, so he like sort of popped it out for the corner. One of the best chances of the match, and his reaction after it, like, honestly, like, he just looked so shocked. Was the chance again quickly after that was a shot from Nan, where he kind of takes it down off his chest from JMS, and he hits it so sweetly on the half, like, at the volley, so sweetly struck, lots of like sort of the power, but it was a really good save. And
it was
soon as it been saved, he was literally like he stood there for a good 10 seconds, just like, how the fuck did that not go in?
Yeah, no, I know the one you mean. I think, like I said at the start when we were talking about the lineups, I was really pleased to see Nandule starting. Really pleased,
man. Agree.
There's a whole debate to be had about whether he's more effective off the bench or whether he's more effective starting, but that's a debate for another day. I thought he had chances and he was very, very unlucky to not at least get a goal, because he had the chance you're talking about with the chest control and the volley, and then not long after that he had the header as well. I thought that was a goal, to be honest. I thought that was a goal. But the goalkeeper making his debut for Ross County, obviously wanting to impress, full length save, gets a hand to it. It's it's crazy. What Nandule, and I'm going to bang the Nandule drum for a minute because I absolutely love him. He said it last season when we were in the Championship. The best way to get the best out of me is to play crosses into me. That's what I feed off of. There was an article about it. I've
literally got that on my notes as well, but please do.
Yeah, there was an article all about it, and they were speaking to him. It was an interview with him, and he said, I thrive off of crosses into the box. Get crosses in, and I'll make something happen. And then the two chances that we're talking about were both crosses into him. The second one for the header was a Boyce cross. I think Boyce was out wide, and
I think you're right. Yeah,
sort of dinked it into him, and it just shows you. It just shows you what he gives you. But again, as I say, there's a whole different debate to be had whether he's better off the bench or he's better starting. I really, really rate Randooley. I'm not saying that he's in the Stephen Kingsley bracket of underrated players or underappreciated players, but Nanduli is one of those players that divides opinion among supporters. And I just think, yeah, he is effective at what he does if he's given the right service. He's the sort of player that if he was to leave Hearts and go and play for another Scottish Premiership team,
He'd do fucking brilliant.
He'd score goals. He'd score goals
Yeah.
because they would build their attacks around him. And I'm not saying that's what we need to do. Don't get me wrong. I'm not suggesting for 1 minute that's what we need to do. But he was so unlucky not to get a goal or even an assist. You know, that Gary Mackay-Stevens sitter. We'll talk about that later.
Yeah, we'll talk about it because that ruined me. That I was still ill that day, and I was going to use all my energy just to throw my shoe at the fucking TV, like seriously. But yeah, sort of going from that, I think if we are to play this shape in the future, and both if Nan is involved in that as well, I think what I said it to yourself as well. I think the shape kind of allows us to have more of an attacking, approach to the game as well. And like you said there, through most games that we actually watch, how many times we just cross it in and just nothing happens at all. Yeah. With Nan, you've of course got more of a chance for something to happen, and if he doesn't sort of get his head on it, he's there to bring it down to either pass it off to then sort of bring it down or shoot. He gives us that extra bit of strike force to actually try and make something of it. So I wouldn't ever be of a bad light if we are to play this throughout the sort of the future as well. Going from that, as you just fucking said it there, I was trying to scream at the TV, but I genuinely physically could not because I was still ill. That chance again, it's going to bring me onto a different sort of rant as well. And I've said it constantly throughout the start of the season and sort of in the championship as well. Critical of shots on goal. That's something that has to be addressed because it's something that is a recurring theme over and over and over. And I know it's not for every game. We do was it to convert the chances into goals? Yeah, absolutely. But the amount of chances that we've not, and it's a full load of them, they're just not being taken. So I just kind of want to get your sort of view on that, both on the sort of the chances in general and that god awful fucking shot from him as well.
It's one of those things that we seem to goals that we genuinely score seem to either be through work, hard work, or individual moments of brilliance. That tends to be where our goals come from. We have to work hard to create the chances to score them, or it's a brilliant strike or whatever. We never score an easy goal. We never score a scrappy goal. We never score a tap in, that's like a scramble in the box and a tap in. We don't get those kind of goals.
No.
But it's frustrating because obviously there's my favorite word again, frustration. But it's one of those situations that there's positives to take because we're creating those chances. I'd be more worried if we weren't creating them.
True, but to a certain extent, if you're not going to put away at least half of those chances, then that's all just hard work for absolutely nothing.
Yeah, no, that's true. But I also think as well, to back it up, the Ross County goalkeeper had an absolute blinder of a performance. I don't know. It must be something about when Hearts play against these teams, opposition goalkeepers just turn up. I don't know what it is. We saw it with Matt Macy in the Hibs game. We saw it with the Ross County goalkeeper on the weekend. He's making full length diving saves and getting hands to balls. Next week, I bet he'll throw one in his own net.
Probably.
It's just he was man of the match. He was man of the match. The Ross County goalkeeper won man of the match. And at half time, before I say my next piece, the Gary Mackay-Steven chance was unbelievable. Like Nandule,
shit.
yeah, Nandule works so hard to get that ball, drives forward with it, beats a man, gets into the box, cuts it back, and Gary Mackay-Steven's running onto it, and you're just thinking, right, Lacey's bottom corner, simple. It nearly went out for a throw-in.
Literally, what I was about to say, it like where the camera went, it was literally going like across like the corner flag.
It was ridiculous.
Was it that bad?
Oh, honestly. But then the thing is, so then you're thinking, okay, that's a big miss. And Nanduli, I don't know if you saw his reaction to it. No. He was fuming. He was like, I've literally given you the ball on a plate. What are you doing? And then the thing is, so you're looking at that chance and you're going, like Robbie Nielsen said it after the game, that at halftime we could have been going in 4-1 up. Yeah. Instead, we were 2-1 down after their goal right before the end of the first half.
Yes, indeed. I mean, just before we do go on to that, like just a bit more was the context, on like the chances, like sort of said. So shots we had were 17 shots. Those that were on target, 5, and like of course one was from Ed Du Bois and the free kick that was in the second half. Like surely that's got to be like kind of focused on throughout the weeks to come, because if we're going to be at home for the next 2 weeks where strangely we're now kind of doing better like away from home, which you sent me that ridiculous stat where we achieved 10 points last year and now we have gotten 9 points already away from home.
Our last Premier League season.
But still, that's still
we've actually got the best away record in the league this season so far. 7 points from 9. Nobody else has got 7 points from 9 away from home.
Like what the actual fuck? Now, if you're going to put 17 shots and put 5 of them, like on was it the target, like that for me personally, like you're saying, like like we tend to work hard for those chances, but if the end, like sort of the product isn't going to actually like sort of be there once we've done like all that, then I feel as if that's something that kind of has to be improved upon.
Oh, definitely. But I think as I said, the 2 Nandule chances should have been goals. Like the goalkeeper makes blinding saves for both of them. But then, as I say, we're hurtling towards halftime at 1-1, and you're thinking, okay, let's regroup, let's go again at halftime. And then they score right at the end of the first half.
Yeah.
That goal, I've got more of an issue with that goal than I do the first one. I think.
Please do tell.
The ball, again, it's that Charles Cook, the winger. The winger, he gets the ball and he runs, and Benny's tracking him, Benny's with him. And there was just something about that goal. It was a bit of luck, a bit of good fortune, but we didn't really react how I would like us to. Benny has a chance to cut that ball out before the winger's running at him. Then, obviously, the winger gets into the box and Benny's thinking, I can't foul you because I'm in the box, I'll give away a penalty. He gets a little deflection on the ball, but the ball bounces back to the winger again. Again, another bit of good luck, a bit of good fortune. Crosses the ball into the box, and Spittle, was it Spittle? I think it was Spittle.
It was. Was Spittle, yeah, it was.
Yeah, it was. Spittle, again, another first-time shot. Another first-time shot that Gordon saves every day of the week. But Suter is there trying to block it. And I have got no criticisms at all of John Suter doing what he did. He was there trying to block the shot. It was just unfortunate that it goes in off of him. And Gordon is totally wrong-footed and it's in the back of the net. But the goal itself really, really frustrated me. And it was more the fact that it was right before the end of the first half. And I thought it was actually quite an even first half of football, to be fair. We had chances, they had chances. Ross Callaghan again had another couple of chances that he could have scored.
Yep,
so
he did indeed.
It was the timing of the goal more than the goal itself that really annoyed me. I was like, because I'm sitting there thinking, okay, we've had two big chances with Nandule, we've had the Gary Mackay-Steven chance. We should be out of sight here, but we're not. Then, obviously, when it went 1-1, I put something on Twitter before the end of the first half, before they'd scored their second goal, basically saying, please let this not be another typical Hearts performance when we have all these chances and we get made to pay for it. And
which I genuinely thought it was going to actually be like, no lie.
But then I literally hit send on that tweet, and then 5 minutes later we go 2-1 down. And afterwards, at halftime, I followed it up with, told you so. It's typical. It's typical.
Yeah.
It's a sucker punch. But again, I have no criticisms of John Souttar, no criticisms of Craig Gordon, no criticisms of Benny. Like, it was just a bit of good fortune from Ross County, and they managed to get a goal out of it.
Yeah, I mean, like, I'm not even going to try and add comment to that because I think you've just like sort of said it all, mate. But I mean, again, like, we don't even really need to go into like sort of what we thought when it did go to halftime. I mean, one thing that I did write down and I wanted to kind of get your like sort of like opinion on it. We've said a lot when we do like sort of the reviews of games that, like, you know, throughout the first half, 9 times out of 10, we tend to be in control. Now, it's a term that I've used quite a lot. Now, do you think that in the grand scheme of things, do you think that throughout like the games that we played, bar the game, well, the 2 games against the Celtic, do you think that we've kind of been in control as such, or do you think it's more down to the team saying, right, just let them have it, let them like sort of like build up, like, and try hard to get chances, and then just blast them on the counters?
I think you're probably right. I think it's the system that we've played, the 3-4-3 in particular, does leave us open to counter-attacks when we lose possession. But that's why Benny Beningame has been such a revelation, because every time we lose the ball, he just wins it back and just goes, thanks very much, I'll take that back. But I think it's really difficult to say, because I think away from home is always difficult. You know, you're going to go through spells where you're not in control of the game, and because you're the away team. We do it to teams at Tynecastle, where we keep the ball and we move it, and then they create chances when they get it. But it's a difficult one. I see where you're going, but I think against County, I think the first half was actually quite even. And if it had been 1-1 going in at halftime at 1-1, I probably would have went, you know what, fair enough. But yeah, the sucker punch just before the end kind of made me go, how the fuck are we losing this game 2-1? Like, we didn't deserve to be behind. But again, that goes back to what we were saying about converting your chances. I think in terms of being in control, I think we used the ball well in the first half. I think we probably used the ball better than County did, but they created chances on the counter-attack, and that worried us quite a lot. We didn't look really all that set on a lot of occasions. Obviously, back four. It goes back to the system. You know, it's another new system that we're playing because of injuries, etc. But yeah, I mean, I think over the course of the game, we controlled it with possession, because we seem to be doing better with that now. We seem to be, particularly away from home, we seem to have more of the ball than I can remember us having in previous years, which is probably why we're getting better results. But yeah, it's one of those, like, Robbie Nielsen's probably thinking with 5 minutes to go in the first half, he's going to go in at halftime and tell them, how the fuck are we not winning this? Score your chances. And then at halftime, he's thinking, hang on a minute, we're 2-1 down here. What's happened? You know, it's an odd one, but I think we as Hearts supporters have a tendency to be overly critical because we're just used to being critical,
Oh,
to
aye.
be fair. And that stat that I said before, 7 points from 9, we've got the best away record in the league. You can't really be critical of that.
I know, but
So
we'll still
yeah,
be that like sort of
of
was it
course
the critical mate? Of course,
we have to find something to moan about, because if we
Yeah,
don't, what good is this? Like, you have to moan about
exactly.
it. You can't be all sunshine and rainbows all the time, can you?
Absolutely, man. Well, off from that, we went into the second half, and I've said it to yourself on three like occasions. 45 minutes. That was the most dullest 45 minutes of my fucking life. Apart from one thing that happened, which we will talk about in a wee bit, because the first highlight that I wrote down was Gary Mackay Stephen off, Devlin on. My first like sort of highlight of that. But in that, with Devlin coming on, was that a suggestion of a change in shape? Because I potentially wrote down that we possibly reverted back to like a 4-4-2, possibly, or
I think 4-4-2 or 4-4-1-1 with Boyce behind Nanduli, but
nice.
pretty much the same
Aye.
thing. Pretty much the same thing. I know you're saying about the 45 minutes that you'll never get back, etc. I'll confess right now that the second half, I watched it, as I say, I watched the game back on BBC Alba. I watched the first half intently. And then the second half, I was kind of watching it in the background of what I was doing. So,
well, mate, I will go. Sorry, before you carry on, literally, I was the same as you. I will watch the first half, and I was watching it on the iPlayer, so I thought, right, okay, I'll grab some food, blah blah blah, and then I'll to watch it. 24 hours later, then I fucking watched it, like literally, and again, I literally just had it there, like I wasn't really like sort of focused on the action itself. But yeah, like so going like sort of back to it. Devlin, obviously I know that for half an hour I make a huge sort of impact on your sort of the first game, especially at was it at the county? What did you think of him?
Again, I have to confess, I didn't really pay much attention to the second half, to be quite honest with you. So my input
and this
from
is
this
why
point,
this is why we do a Hearts podcast, because we listen and we learn intently, guys.
My input on the second half is going to be nowhere near as insightful as the first half. But
yeah,
I asked for opinions of Cammy Devlin on Twitter. I turned to Twitter in my hour of need in doing homework for this particular podcast.
Yeah.
And Daniel McIver of the Perth Paisley podcast has already confessed his undying love for Cammy Devlin.
Of course.
of a 20-minute cameo. But to be fair, he wasn't the only one. There are fans that are saying he picked the ball up and he drove forward with it.
Mm-hmm.
He always made himself available for passes. He was,
of course,
sprinting back and harrying people and trying to win the ball back, which is nice to see.
Yeah, definitely.
I will go back and watch it the second half. I will, because I will just to see what Cammy Devlin was like, to be honest.
I will not put myself through that again. Like honestly.
I said, but then the thing was, I said to you at the Hibs game, because again, going back to that, we were sitting in the front row, and when they were doing the warm-ups, they were right in front of us.
Mm-hmm.
And they did Cammy Devlin dirty by having him training running behind Nanduli. Nanduli is like 6'6". Cammy Devlin is 5'7". You look like a schoolboy.
I could just see in there. Stand behind me. Stand behind me.
He is Cammy Devlin, and this is going to break the illusion for people that see us sitting down all the time. I'm not a tall man. Cammy Devlin is shorter than me,
and that is saying something.
And I
can say it right now, that is saying something.
I'm not even anywhere near 6 foot. Cammy Devlin is shorter than me. And I look at him and I think, do you know what? Like, it's great. It's great. And like I say, all the reports and feedback that I got off of Twitter said that he had a good 20-minute cameo at the end of
Yeah,
the game. He contributed something. It would be interesting to see him over a longer period of time. I don't know whether
yeah,
he'll play against Livingston, maybe. He might
possibly.
come in and play next to Benny. I don't know. We might rest Haring. We might bring Haring back. I
Mm,
don't know. I think we'll bring Haring back because I think when playing at Tynecastle, Haring is the better option. But,
yeah,
we've covered that before.
of course.
But yeah, the second half had chances in it as well. Boyce, a header, back post.
It was a really, really close shot. Like,
It
when we
was,
said,
it was, it was, it was. And again, it's another one that could have went in. It was
aye,
another good cross, another good cross into the box. But it's just not taking the chances again that we're creating.
and it's your favorite word, frustrating as fuck.
Yeah.
But yeah, about 5 minutes after the boys' chance, we bring off Ben the Woodburn. I don't know if it was due to sort of a small injury as such, because again, I'm pretty sure that he did the same thing that he did at the Hibs game as well. I don't know if it might have been his was it the calf or that, but it was possibly down to just to make sure that he doesn't like sort of actually like sort of injure himself. And we brought on Jamie Walker. I kind of wanted to talk about him in general, because my mind is in kind of two like sort of like frames about him. Overall, I would love him to stay. I would love him to stay because I think like from a very selfish point of view, I don't think he's ever going to be a starting man, unless we're like really really low the options we actually have. But and you sort of said the same thing as well. There's a small part of me that feels that he kind of wants to get away, possibly as soon as the next transfer window comes round, which is in January. But again, it's all from a very selfish point of view because he can make an impact from the bench. But again, if you're like a football player, like you want to be playing, you want to be playing as much as you actually can. And for me, there's a small part of me that I think you said the same thing as well, mate, that there's a small part of him that I think will want to get away, which is absolutely fair enough because I feel I'm not saying that he's one of the best like sort of red players we've got. However, I think he is good enough to be at a team where he's playing regular like first team like at the football.
I agree. I think Jamie Walker, when he came back to the club, was talking about wanting to hit that 50 goal target because I think when he left, he had like 40 something.
Yeah.
And then obviously he's come back and he's hit that 50 goal target. He hit it in the Championship. And I think I look at Jamie Walker now and I go, where's your motivation to play for Hearts? What motivates you to play for Hearts now? You wanted to come back and score 50 goals. You've done that. So where's your motivation? And I think it's a situation of, it's a similar situation with like a Nandule. Do you bring him in off the bench? Does he change a game when he comes on? I don't know if he does. You wouldn't bring Jamie Walker on and change the system when Jamie Walker comes on. You'd bring Jamie Walker on for a Ben Woodburn or for a Barry Mackay or for a Gary Mackay-Steven or for a Josh Ginnelly, who are all wingers. Jamie Walker is not the sort of player that you will bring on and he'll have a massive impact in a game.
No.
I think when he came on against Ross County, he looked okay.
Yeah, no,
When we're 2-1 down, okay off the bench is not, it's not good enough. You need someone to come on and drive the team and try and get us back into it. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Jamie Walker is one of those players that in January we look at and we go, if you can find another club to go to, you can go. If you can't find another club to go to, we're happy for you to stay.
Yeah.
I'm not sure on his contract situation. He might be another one that's due to run out at the end of the season. I'm not 100% sure. I'd have to look that up. But if that's the case, I don't see him getting an extension anytime soon. But it's sad because I like Jamie Walker, and I remember Jamie
Yeah,
Walker the first time around when he was at Hearts. Very, very promising young player, and injuries
absolutely.
haven't helped him. Injuries have not helped him. His spell down in England didn't work how he wanted it to, and he's come back up the road. But yeah, it's a really, really curious case with Jamie
Mm.
Walker. He is far down the pecking order of the wingers that we have.
Yeah, he is.
Plus, he'll
And
he'll be at the top end of the wage bill as well. You
true,
know,
yeah,
he's not going to be
true.
earning pennies. He's going to be up there. So
Mhm.
it's going to be an interesting one. But for the time being, I'm happy for him to be at Hearts. But long term, I don't think he will be, because I just feel like the one thing he said when he came back was he wanted to hit that 50 goals. He's done it now.
And
So
now, yeah.
what happens now?
No, man, like exactly. It's like, but like you said, like he had an okay like sort of performance, like with 25 like sort of the minutes left, but literally as soon as he came on, we saw it at the start of last season when he scored that beautiful worldly free kick, and he went and done it again. Um, it was a really good free kick from that boy. It was a really good free kick, wasn't it?
It was. It was. It's one of those that and again, he's got that ability to do it.
Mm,
You
yeah,
know, like you say, we've seen it before. Okay, he's taken a lot of free kicks and missed a lot of free kicks,
yeah.
but in that instance, I was looking at it and I'm thinking, yeah, he's going to hit this. He's going to hit this. I wasn't thinking it was going to go in. I'll be honest. I thought it was going to go into the stand. I didn't quite have the same calmness when I see Liam Boyce step up to take a penalty. But it was one of those free kicks that as soon as he hit it, it was
He
in.
literally just turned it, because I'm positive that when he hit it, he turned around literally before the ball like sort of went in. Was like, yeah, I will take that.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Been gone.
But it's one of those, and I quickly listened to the Perth Paisley podcast that they put out earlier on today, and it's not something that I noticed, but the free kick was impressive, but the celebration was even better. He
Yeah,
literally picks the ball up and runs back to the centre circle, and he's given it, right, come on, we're
that's
back in a draw.
100%. Yep,
Let's try and get a win here. This
of
is
course.
important. And I didn't see that, to be fair. So big shouts to the guys for pointing that one out when I listened to them earlier.
Mm-hmm.
It just, that's the mentality that you want in a player,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the mentality you want in a squad. Like, we're back in the game, we can go on and win this now. We can take that momentum and go forward and try and kick back in and get a win. Obviously, wasn't to be in the end, but it's nice that we have players that are going to drive the team forward and say, right, get on my back. We're going to go for this. We're going to try and get a win.
Definitely. And we'll saying that, once that chance went in, there wasn't actually much that went on for the rest of the game, apart from the very last chance, which was to Ross said the county, where Suter pretty much saved us at the point where he like, it wasn't like right on the line, but he did like sort of clear it off. I think it was Callahan that took that shot. No, it wasn't,
I couldn't tell you,
because he
to
went
be
out. But
honest.
anyway, but yeah,
I couldn't tell you.
I don't know if Gordon got caught out like or not, but like the shot like sort of came in, and if Suter like wasn't there, then that would have been all of the 1 point away. So
Yeah.
well done to the big man. So yeah, overall, I hate to say it, because I don't like to admit when you're right, but yeah, it was pretty frustrating, mate. And just to point out, like, as well, it makes it even more frustrating considering Hibs drew with St Mirren, Rangers drew with Motherwell, and Celtic got beat at Livingston. Like,
Well,
you couldn't write it. I mean, it could have been a lot worse, but from our end, it could have been a hell of a lot fucking better. Eh?
yeah, absolutely. It is, and that's where the frustration comes from. It's very much, you're happy, but it's weird because during the game I went through every possible emotion when I was watching it back. We scored the first goal, I'm delighted. We concede straight after, I'm frustrated. We have chances, I'm thinking, right, this is promising. We go into one down at half time, I'm raging. Then we come back out the second half, we score. I'm thinking, this is great. We could go on and win this now. And then the game finishes, and like you say, the Suter chance where he clears it off the line. That was like we could have lost the game there and then,
A
So
roller coaster of emotions, sir.
exactly, and that's what being a Hearts supporter is all about. That's the tagline. But yeah, it was frustrating, and I messaged you on the Sunday after the full time scores came in.
Mm-hmm.
How frustrated. There's that counter again. I want to get a frustration counter somewhere on the screen of how many times I say that this season. I think that has to be tallied up somewhere.
And what, mate? It'll probably be more interesting than our head-to-head fucking stats. Because like seriously, it would be
probably. But and I mean it is frustrating. There you go. because of the other results from the other games.
Yeah.
But equally, it's positive because the teams round about us, nobody's taking advantage of us dropping points. So that's the positive way to look at it. But yeah,
I know, but like at
funny.
the same time, we could still be at the top as well. Like, I mean, that's the harsh side of it.
In another world, we've played 6 games and won 6 games.
Yeah.
Because every game we've dropped points in, we've created enough chances to win those games.
Mm-hmm.
The Aberdeen game, the Hibs game, the County game, the drop points, you can make arguments that we should win all of those. Yeah. So there's, it is frustrating. There we go again.
Fucking hell, this is going to be a macro, honestly.
I'm just giving you more editing work to do.
Cheers, thanks.
You don't have to do it. I'll tally it up in my head when I'm listening.
Good luck. But I mean, yeah.
But what do you do? The life of a Hearts supporter is to see the glass is either half full or half empty, and you just got to roll with it, don't you?
Absolutely, man. But yeah, that was all from the Ross County game, which ended in a 2-2 frustrating draw.
That one's on you.
Thank you. So we look ahead. Our next 2 games, as we mentioned at the start, are both at home. On Saturday, we are at home to Livingston and then at home to Motherwell. Now, for Saturday's game, before the game, when they played Celtic, I would have straight away thought, that's probably going to be a likely win. And then after the result, I thought, oh, that'll be interesting. So do you think for this game, do you think it was kind of a fluke that they actually won, or do you actually think that we have got something to kind of be concerned about when they come to Botany?
I think we should definitely be concerned. I think, they've not won before the game at the weekend. They hadn't won a game this season. That was their first win. They'll be looking to bounce on from that. They're, as we speak, playing Rangers in the League Cup quarter-final, semi-final. I lose track when we're out of cup competitions, but they're currently 0-0 with Rangers at Ibrox after half an hour. I've just looked it up now. So Livingston are a stuffy team. They are a stuffy team, and they'll make it tough. They will make it tough. They're a good side, though. They're a good side, and they have dangers and they have threats that if we're not switched on, you don't know what can happen.
As per.
Obviously at Tynecastle, I'd back us, but I'd always back us at Tynecastle because we should win these games.
Of course, one.
There's also something to be said for the fact that obviously Livingston are playing tonight and then they play us at the weekend, so they'll have played an extra game. So
makes no difference whatsoever. Especially with us. It'll make no difference.
You would hope that there would be some tiredness in the Livingston legs.
You would hope, but who knows?
Who knows? It is, and I really don't know. I know obviously we do our predictions every week, but I'm going to ask you first what you think yours is, because I'm still not set on. I've got a couple in mind that I'm still not set.
Right. Well, as you said, I will always back us at home, and I can't back out of that now. So even though it, like, I know we're meant to be quite like upbeat and quite like sort of was it at the positive, but so far that head-to-head league is an absolute fucking joke. So
It's a disaster.
literally only one of us, and ours was literally like the one I got right was against Celtic, and that was like that could have went fucking anywhere. So I'm gonna admit that was like a fluke likes. But in terms of a scoreline, I'm going to kind of marginally sit on the fence, but I'm going to go for a 1-0 Hearts win.
That was one of my options. I'm not going to lie to you.
Stick with it. We will sit on the fence proudly together, mate. It's fine.
Yeah, I'll back that. A 1-0 Hearts win. I'll
back that. Yeah. So it's either...
Is that the first time we've gone the same score?
I think so, mate. So either way, we're either going to be still it will be still the exact same, because if we won't get it right, we'll still be on level. But why are we doing this? Right?
Well, it's 2 points for a result and 1 point, or 2 points for a correct score, 1 point for a correct result. So if
it's going to be the same.
If Hearts win, it's still going to be a point between us. If it's 1-0, it's still going to be a point between us.
So. Exactly. So
I think at this point we should both just do the forfeits, to be honest. I think that's the only way to go.
Which I was going to actually to mention. We will mention maybe like halfway through the season, because we're still kind of debating on what forfeit we're going to actually do, because Alan's got one in mind for me. I've got one in mind for Alan. So we're kind of like, the debating, like, like if one is like sort of more unfair like in the other, which I don't think it is, but like, we will say in time, and we will get a wee like sort of was it at the poll at the going, just to ask which one is worse. I mean, to be honest, the one that you've got is probably worse. Like, I'll say, even though mine's will be ridiculous, yours will probably be worse.
Probably, but then the thing is, I'm behind right now, so I'm a point behind you. So you're sitting pretty okay. It's only 3-2, but if we don't get a single result right between now and the end of the season, I'm done for.
Mate, again, just like Hearts, it would be typical if it just stayed the same. Like, absolutely typical if it didn't. But hey ho, that is that. So yeah, on that note, we have both said that it will be a 1-0 victory for Hearts at the weekend. But of course, we would like to hear what you guys think will be the scoreline, and overall what you think of the points that we've made from the Ross County game. Any sort of the comments is always like appreciated. So yeah, we look forward to seeing what you guys have to say. And on that note, I think it brings us to the end of the podcast. So as always, guys, thank you very much for watching the Since I Was Young podcast for all things Heart of Midlothian. If you want to get in contact with us through our socials, you can. Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, all at SIWY Pod. Also, if you want to get in contact with us directly, our email is also in the description and on screen, since I was young 1874 at gmail.com. And alternatively as well, if you want to check us out through Twitter and YouTube, you can. Alan's Twitter is in the description, as well as my YouTube channel, What Ewan's Doing. You can check out my latest video of how I got this fucking sweetheart right here for the cheapest fuck price. Check it out. So yeah, as always, thank you very much for watching, and Alan, always a pleasure, sir.
And the same to you, sir. Here's to hopefully a win on the weekend against Livingston.
No promises, but let's hope so. Yeah, but yeah, guys, thank you very much for watching, and we will see you in the next one. You take care. Bye for now.